Hi, everybody. Thanks for tuning in to another episode of The Spiritual Scientist. I'm Victor Hamza. Thanks for tuning in. Thought I'd talk about a couple things, and one of my friends messaged me and said, "Hey, what's new?" And what isn't new? What is that we think of as new? Is everything new all the time, or are these effects that we see around us, are those the new things and everything's just stagnant? Those kind of things can be deep question in a way. And let me see if I could get this phone set up here a little bit so I can be a little more hands-free. Okay. Hi. So, I was thinking about, I have a lot of people I try to stay in contact with, and I just keep finding people every day that I meet, and when I'm doing through Facebook or social media, I keep saying, "Hey, I'm a spiritual healer. I do mentoring. What can I help you with?" And I just end up talking to a lot of people, and what I find prevalent out there in a spiritual community is a lot of channeling going on, and obviously that can lead to a lot of demonic possession and a lot of demonic things. So I talked about this a little bit before, but when you're, I don't think other people are talking about this, but I am. So, but I just keep coming, keeps coming up. So I keep, talking to people, and they're like, for instance, I was talking to someone today, and she doesn't want to be, I'm sure, friends with me anymore. But she says, "Okay, I'm into UFOs, phenomena." I said, "Really? That's interesting. I saw them when I was very young, chatting." And she said, "Yeah, me too. And I saw it up close, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Well, you have to, be very careful, with these kind of things." She said, "Well, they're like my family." And I said, "Well, what makes you say that?" He said, "That's just the way I feel." And I said, "I understand, but if you're dealing with a psychic entity, they can make you feel any way that they want to make you feel, because they have that kind of a, psychic power. Like they could actually entrance and make you feel certain ways. So you have to really be, centered and know, what your feelings, what kind of feelings are they trying to make you, feel." So I was trying to explain that. She's like, "No, you're wrong." So I was like, "Okay, but you have to really be cognizant of where you are in position of, in yourself, and be centered. And then you can understand, control your emotions, and say, why do I feel what this other being that I don't know of, why do I have such a friendly feeling towards, maybe that's, fake. Why do I feel this way?" So I think a lot of people on, Facebook, if a lot of them, they have encounters, and or whatever, and they say, "Oh, they're like family. I feel so comfortable, feel so happy." I'm like, "Well, that's where it feels with the Venus flytrap for the fly going in there. He's like, 'Oh, sugar. Oh, it's so good.'" So I just think that that's something certainly to be, aware of. And, then this person's like, "Well," and I'm not going to mention any names or anything, but they said, "Well, I feel like I'm, I remember she was mentioning to me, she was writing a book, or wrote a book on UFOs." So I was like, "Wow." So I said, "You must have done a lot of, research. What do I'm sure you're familiar with MUFON." And she says, "What's MUFON?" I said, "Well, what do you mean, what's MUFON? It's just the largest civilian operated, UFO research database in the world for the last, since the 1970s, that they've been, they have, and I've read through so many of the reports. How could you not be interested in who MUFON, and not even know who MUFON is?" And she's like, "I don't know who they are." I said, "Well, I'm just confused. Where do you get the information that you wrote a book about UFOs. And she said, well, I channeled them. I channel all the information. I don't need outside information. I just channel. So I was like, that's really not, good that you're just channeling in this information. You're not getting this information. Who knows where you're getting this information from? You have to, really use spiritual discernment. And, she's like, well, I'm not messaging you anymore. We're not friends anymore. I said, I'm trying to be your friend. I'm trying to help. You have no idea how many people are like this, that I message that are into channeling, are into their own information, most likely getting this from demonic entities. They're getting, sidelined. And it ends up being, that this is prevalent among so many people. They say, and I said, well, I'm a, distance healer. I do spiritual mentoring. No, I got it. I'm cool. So, okay. What are you cool about? Well, I figured out this and I'm doing this. So, no, it's cool. It's cool. I got it. I said, okay. I'm not pushing myself on you. I'm just saying, hey, I'm out there if you need anything. And then they say, well, I'm into this and I'm doing these drugs and, it's pretty good, but I had this kind of weird trip and I had this. And I said, well, I'm trying to talk to them a little bit, but, everybody's very, off on their own strange tangents. And they're really just trapped in pits, and it's very biblical, so. And I was thinking about that, how everybody's like trapped in pits. And it made me think about, Psalm 40. And what I was thinking about, and then I started thinking about Jesus. And then I was thinking about how Jesus was, and this was on my drive home tonight. I was thinking how, Jesus, when he got rid of the money changers, and he, and he said that he didn't want money changers in the house of God, and I just think maybe there was a deeper meaning behind that Jesus might not be cognizant of at the time. And I mean that in the nicest way. People say up in arms, say, oh, Jesus was God at that point. I don't believe so. But what I'm saying is that, when he got rid and turned over the tables of the money changers, what people don't know about is that the money changers were there. They would change money. So you would come to the temple and you would have like different denominations, and the temple had their own coin, right? That's how they were making money. Number one. So Jesus was out there doing baptisms in Jordan, and baptisms, and saying to people, I'm washing away your sins this way. From John the Baptist trained him, Jesus, to do the baptisms as well. And when they were doing those baptisms, sometimes people would donate to them instead of donating to the temple. So the money was going towards, Jesus instead towards the temple. So that was, some angst going on. The reason that, it wasn't good to give to the temple time, but is because the temple was Roman occupied. So when you were giving money to the temple, you were giving it to the occupiers of Rome. So when, Jesus was doing the baptisms and they would donate instead to Jesus and his troop, then they weren't giving to Rome, they were giving back to their own people, which is something that was, going about. And I love it when people say to me, I'm doing mostly 99.9%, distance healings, ends up being, I say, for free donations. And then I'm, doing donations, and then, but what I'm saying is, obviously, I said to someone else before, Jesus was taking, people gave money through Judas as the treasurer for money changing. So that was something that, was certainly going on. I mean, why have a treasurer if you weren't accepting money? Um, so, and I'm not saying anything, negative about it, but I'm just saying that, he had to eat too, right? Um, so let's not pretend, right? So, but what I was saying is that when Jesus turned over the tables of money changers, what people would do with the money, they would buy, sacrifices. So they would buy sacrifices. They would buy like a pigeon. Depends on how much money you had. You can buy a goat. You can buy a pigeon. You can buy a lamb. You could buy, cattle. Whatever, you could go. The cheapest thing there would be like a turtle dove or a small bird, and then they would take their money. They would go as a pilgrimage. They would go there, take the money, and then they would go to the head priest. The priests were descended from Aaron, but then the priests were anyway. The priests were of a certain line that you had to pay money to get in to be a priest. You had to be like an elite person. And once you were there, you could keep some of the money that they would give you as, a sacrifice. So it was a whole pyramid scheme, right? So when the priests would get the money, then part of that money would have to go, to the Romans, but they would actually take, a sacrifice, and they would take the sacrifice. They would take that animal and kill it, over the altar, and that would be the sacrifice for the person who did a sin. Let's say a guy said, okay, I beat my wife too many times. Then he would go take a pilgrimage to the temple. He would buy, let's say, a sheep, and then they say, okay, we changed the money. So they only used, it was a little bit of a scam. You're only allowed to buy the sheep with the temple money. So you always had to exchange your money there. And then you would go, and then they would say, okay, and then you don't have to tell them what you did. You just say, this is what, I'm putting that sacrifice that's taking my sin away. And then they would take that sheep and they would kill it, sacrifice it and take all the, the parts of the sheep, and they burn a lot of it. And the rest, the priests would, cut up certain, choice sections, and they would, have it for food. And then they would resell it. So it's kind of like a big scam going on. At the time, that's how it was. So in 0 to 31 PC and that AD and that time frame, that's what we're talking about, right? But I'm saying the deeper mystical aspect of that would be like Jesus saying, he was turning over the money changing tables and saying, that's not the sacrifice. In a way, he's saying, I'm the sacrifice. So I'm saying it like it's a little deeper than, what you've read about. And I think maybe Jesus wasn't aware of it in the time, but God ended up being aware of it, that's how it came down, that, Jesus ended up being the sacrifice and not just, the animals, right? So if we look to, when I briefly, these things like flash through my head, I explain it here for 14 minutes or whatever, but, in a second, I kind of conceptualize all this in a moment. And then I, thought about Psalm 40. I'm going to read you a little bit of Psalm 40. And then I waited patiently for the Lord and inclined unto me and heard my cry. He brought me out of a horrible pit. And that's what these people are. I was thinking about how they're these channeling demonic entities, and they're in pits, and they don't even know that they're separated from all the other people, and they're like, everybody's in pits. Out of the miry clay, and set my feet upon a rock, and establish my goings. That's what God does. And he hath put a new song in my mouth, in ever praise unto our God. Many shall see it and fear, and shall trust in the Lord. Blessed is the man that maketh the Lord his trust, and respecteth not the proud, nor such as turn aside to lies. So that's what everybody should be doing, is turning to the truth. Many, O Lord, my God, are the wonderful works which thou hast done, and thy thoughts which are us toward, they cannot be reckoned with in order unto thee. If I would declare and speak of them, they are more than can be numbered. Sacrifice and offerings thou dost not desire. Mine ears thou hast opened. Burnt offerings and sin offerings hast thou not required. Then I said, Lo, I come. In the volume of the book is written of me. I delight to do thy will, O my God. Yea, thy laws within my heart. I have preached righteousness in a great congregation. Lo, I have not refrained my lips. O Lord, thou knowest. I have not hid thy righteousness with my heart. I have declared thy faithfulness and thy salvation. I have not concealed thy loving kindness and the truth from the great congregation. Withhold not thou thy tender mercies from me, O Lord. Let thy loving kindness and thy truth continually preserve me. For innumerable evils has passed about me. Mine iniquities have taken hold upon me, that I am not able to look up, that they are more than the hairs of mine head. Therefore mine heart faileth me. But be pleased, O Lord, to deliver me, O Lord. Make haste to help me. Let them be ashamed and confounded together that seek after my soul to destroy it. Let them be driven backwards and put to shame that wish me evil. Let them be desolate for reward of their shame that say unto me, Aha, aha. Let all those that seek thee rejoice and be glad in thee. Let such as love thy salvation say continually, The Lord be magnified. I am but poor and needy, yet the Lord thinketh upon me. Thou art my help and my deliverer. Make no tarrying, O my God. So that is very deep and powerful. And I think a lot about some of these words and how everyone's in pits and they don't know, that they're even in a pit, and they're all separated and they're lost. But God can take you and put you on that rock and put a song in your mouth and pierce your ears, so you can. What are we saying there? It is very deep, mystical thing, and I'll get back into that perhaps in another time. But being that people are just in these, letting these demonic entities, take over their lives, and like when people like this, I message them, and then I get this feeling, sometimes from them of total anger and hatred. I'm going, where is that coming from? I'm just being nice. And then I realize, like, they've been influenced, like that demonic being has taken hold of them, and then that's reacting to me. That's when I know, like, that something's going on, and I dig a little deeper, and then it always is uncovered, and I'm like, why is this person? And it's like I'm litmus paper, I could go out and all of a sudden somebody's really angry with me, like really angry with me, either on Facebook or real life or anything, and then I realize they have something, really, they have been influenced very negatively, and that's what's taken hold of them, and Jesus is the way to get out of that hole. So that's what I thought I'd talk about a little bit tonight. There was another aspect of it that I was thinking of with a lot that's going around. People are saying about again about aliens, and they were saying according to 430 MUFON reports that I read through, plus that it seems to be when aliens would abduct people or have alien encounter, when the people pray and they would say, Jesus, protect me, then the aliens would just depart, like they would just like fly off. They were like, no, and they would just take off right away. So it just seemed like that's definitely a way to get rid of these alien entities and demonic beings. It's just that's definitely one of the the in the case files. It always seems to be something that is true. They would the aliens always seem to have these messages of being for people being a cosmic citizen, but it in fact what their agenda is to separate people from Jesus and God. So that's certainly something important. Anyway, I gotta go. I can tell I hear some yelling in the background, so people are needing me. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I did this in 20 minutes, so I'm sure I missed some things I wanted to talk about. I'll try to do it again some other time. All right, like, subscribe, share. Thank you so much. Peace. Love you.